An unidentified internet author wrote, "My friend talked to me today about liminal spaces. She told me they are the in-between stages, when one era of your life is over, but the next has not yet begun. It's a place of change, of uncertainty, of questions, of waiting. Maybe it's the spaces between words that matter most. Maybe it's the way the piano sounds when it's not being played. Maybe truth only makes itself known in the absence of answers. After all, plants do grow in sidewalk cracks." Did you ever have one of those wonderful mornings when you start to wake up just a bit before the alarm goes off and the sun is just starting to dance through the window blinds and you can hear the birds in the backyard, but the street repair crew has not yet begun? And you can hear the coffee pot working in the kitchen and smell the aroma of the coffee brewing, and the cat has not yet realized that you are awake and so has not yet begun campaigning for her breakfast. And you know you're almost awake, and you could get up 10 minutes early, but you don't, because it feels so good to lie there in the soft sheets and stretch your toes and smell the coffee and smile for no particular reason and listen to the cat purring. Have you ever sat outside on a summer late afternoon and noticed the shadows lengthening, the sky slowly darkening, until the moment when you see the first firefly and hear the first tree peeper of the night? Have you ever been a teenager? Then you know the feeling of liminal time. You have experienced liminality. The concept of liminal time, liminal space, liminality comes from anthropology. From anthropologist Arnold van Gennep, who coined the term in about 1909 to describe part of the experience of a rite of passage. Rituals that mark the change of identity, the change of status, the change of life stages are all liminal experiences. At the beginning of the ritual, the old identities, the old ways are shed. It is a metaphorical death to what has been. It is a breaking from the past. Centered in the ritual is a time of ambiguity when the participants are no longer their pre-ritual selves, but have not yet been transformed into who or what they will be at the ritual's ending. That is the liminal state. In the post-liminal stage, the community as a whole acknowledges the change in status or identity and welcomes the new person, the new reality, into the community. So a wedding, for example, begins with two individuals coming together, formally separating from their families of origin, to stand before the ritual leader, no longer totally independent, separate individuals, but something else. Two people standing at the threshold of becoming one unit. During the wedding ceremony, the readings, the prayers, the vows, they are in liminal time, neither married nor unmarried. The identity of each is changing during the ritual. And when at the end of the ceremony, the celebrant announces, "I do now pronounce you husband and wife," the liminal phase has ended, and the couple are introduced back into their community in their new identity as a married couple. They are not the same people who began the ceremony. They are changed. A graduation ceremony is another ritual of transition. It begins, actually, when the student has completed the work necessary for the diploma, but has not yet quite left the world of the classroom, nor entered the world of the graduated adult. The ceremony of graduation takes the individual from that previous status of student into the liminal time of the ceremony, when the student is no longer just a student, but not yet a graduate. And the liminal stage is filled with sometimes interminable speeches for the students and families to sit through, reflecting upon what has been but is no longer, reflecting upon what is to come but has not yet begun. As the liminal phase of the ceremony ends, the students are called forth one by one to receive their individual diplomas and the congratulations of the institution's leaders. With the calling of the name, the handing over of the diploma, and the handshake with the dean of students, the student is student no longer. Their identity, their status has officially changed. They are introduced to the larger community of families and friends as graduates. Some of you may remember that moment. The caps often thrown into the air signal the leaving behind of the old and the embracing of the new identity. The graduate is not the same individual as the one who was crowded into the auditorium seating for the ceremony. A graduation marks a transition time. And now the individual enters yet a new liminal time, the change between high school and college, or trade school, or graduate school, or a gap year, which is an entire year of liminality. Entering into the next new identity is a passage through the liminal. The teenage years. How many remember being teenagers? How many wouldn't go back and do that again for anything offered to you? The teenage years are filled with ambiguity, with change, with a struggle to find one's new self as one moves, usually with some awkwardness, from childhood into adulthood. A teenager lives in liminality, as do their parents, struggling also to learn how to relate to an individual who is in the process of radical change. Google's AI, oh brave new world. Google defines liminality as a radical change from one stage or status to another. People in liminal stages are usually not fully part of either the stage they used to be in, not children, nor fully in the new stage to which they are now moving, young adulthood. They are struggling, the description continues, to find meaning in the spaces where the old has ended and the new has not yet fully begun. So the liminal is transition time, transition between places, events, identities, stages, experiences, times. A birthday is liminal. Midnight is liminal. New Year's Eve is universally liminal. A national election is liminal, voting being the ritual that creates the change. June is liminal, usually containing both spring and summer, and an unsettling time of weather transition between the two. The meaning of liminality has expanded considerably from Van Gennep's original meaning, but the meaning is still related to that in-between time, a threshold time, neither before nor after, neither in nor out. A point of change, an intermediate stage that is not what was, nor is it what will be. And life is full of liminal times. The church is a place of liminality. Every Sunday, we gather for the ritual of worship that we hope will change us. Not in a radical way of a formal rite of passage, but in the gentler expectation that something in the morning's activity, be it the worship itself or the coffee hour or a conversation in the greeting line after the service, something will have been offered and accepted that creates something new in us. An inspiration, a call to reflection or to action, new information, a challenge to an old way of thinking or being. These all create liminal moments of change. It is expected that Sunday morning will change, will transform the community. It won't always happen the same way for everyone, nor will it necessarily happen for every individual. But the purpose, nonetheless, is to create changes in the people. Sunday morning at 10 a.m. is the opening of what is meant to be a liminal time of reflection, of healthy growth, of change. The in-between time is a gift, but it is not without strings. It can be an awkward place, no longer and not yet, neither past nor future, not what was and not what will be, and that is an uncomfortable place to try to sit. And in point of fact, one way or another, we are always in some sort of liminal time, always moving from the past to the future. It's just that some transitional times are more obvious to us. And we as a congregation are in a liminal time. The liminality actually began for us when Reverend Scot announced that it was time for him to leave UUSG. That led to the time of uncertainty. As the old times are disappearing, we all were asking and worrying and hoping, how will we get by without Reverend Scot? What will the new times bring? Will we like the new minister? The new minister won't live up to Reverend Scot. The liminality continues as we say our goodbyes to Reverend Scot and to Reverend Julia, and to Zachary and to Sammy, and we wonder, to whom will we be saying our hellos? Ministerial transitions are not easy, especially when a ministry has been a good and healthy and happy one, and neither party is necessarily thrilled at the necessary changes and all that the changes demand. These transitions are not easy for the congregation, and they're not easy for the minister. Future planning can no longer involve the departing minister, and I can tell you from experience that's not easy. To sit back and watch the planning go on without you. Projects must be wrapped up or abandoned. Relationships must come to an end. The ties between minister and congregation must be completely severed when a minister leaves, because it is impossible to give oneself completely to a new congregation or to a new minister when the old one is constantly tugging at your heart. It is time to let go. Now, Reverend Scot is technically still here until midnight on July 31st. Not that he's counting days or anything. But some of you may have noticed that, in fact, he is less here already than he was before the announcement of his departure. And that is necessary. He'll be around and working until his official time off begins on July 14th, I believe. But essentially, after today's party, he's going to be pretty much gone. He will not be fully here. He will be betwixt and between, an uncomfortable place with heart and mind divided between Geneva, Illinois, and Brewster, Massachusetts. And that simply cannot be helped. All of you who have had to move your household know that. And know that once the decision is made and the packing has begun, you are divided within yourself between where you are and where you will be. And as of July 14th, Reverend Scot's primary attention will be focused on the process of moving. It has to be thus. There's no way around it. And we at UUSG will be in the liminal state of being without a settled minister, basically from July 14th until our new contract minister arrives at the beginning of September. You will be called upon to care for one another just a bit more intentionally than might otherwise have been the case. You will be called to minister to one another. I will be on call for any emergencies. Please don't have any. Thank you for your consideration. Christine and Lisa and Nancy Christensen all know how to reach me, and I hope that puts at least some of the anxiety to rest. But these coming weeks, when Reverend Scot will be mentally and physically on his way east, and we will be mentally and practically on our way to our own new ministry, this is an obviously liminal time. We will no longer have our beloved settled minister, although Scot is not yet quite gone. We know nothing official yet about our minister-to-be, although we are hopeful for their ministry with us and ours with this stranger coming to become our friend. Liminal times are changing times, times for reflection, for growth, for new possibilities to arise. It is a time of processing for the past and planning for the future. I know how Reverend Scot will be using this time, and I wish him well in the chaos of packing and cleaning and saying those necessary goodbyes. And I know how you and your leadership will be using this time as well, grieving, yes, and grappling with conflicting feelings of annoyance. How dare he choose to go to another congregation? Well-wishing. We do hope this will be the move that the entire family needs, and we do wish them all nothing but the best. And feelings of abandonment, because he just got here, and we were just beginning to figure things out together. But we will also be dreaming a future now open to plans and endeavors you may not have thought were possible in the past. Your new minister will not be anything like Reverend Scot, nor, for those of you with long memories, will the new minister be anything like me. This is a new ministry, soon beginning. Knowing that your search committee has done a good and thorough job, I am confident that this new chapter will also be a good one for all of you. We just weren't ready for it to come so soon. But this is the way it is. What are you going to do? Accept it and move forward, because that is what church communities do. And knowing Reverend Scot, and knowing the beaches of Cape Cod, if not the Brewster congregation in particular, I know that the future will be good and healthy and creative for Scot and his family. I will miss him too, but I trust that all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well for all of us as we go forward.
Visit us at uusg.org.